Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to our first annual Realtors Breakfast. Before getting started, let me go over a few things first. This event is meant to tell you everything that you need to know in order to do business in Calumet City. You will hear from elected officials, department heads from within the city, and many other important speakers. This breakfast was prepared today by Chef London, Anthony, and Sherman from Creations Catering. We are also joined today by Tom Joseph, the Government Affairs Director from the Main Street Association of Realtors, who helped with the invitation process for many of you here. There are folders with useful information on the registration table outside the main door. These handouts contain a survey on the left side. We asked you to complete the survey and return it to the basket either on the back table in the back of the room or outside on the registration table. If you have not signed in yet, please do so. The registration desk is outside the main door, and I will help you with that. In case of an emergency, the fire exits are, there's one back there, the main door, there's another one right there, and then there as well. Restrooms are also located out the main door and are right down the hall. They'll be on the left side. Lastly, before we begin, we ask that you please silence your cell phones or turn them off. And now on to our City Administrator, the Chief of Staff, Deanne Jeffrey.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. We do appreciate you taking the time, making the time on this Saturday morning for our first annual 2021 Realtors Breakfast. We look forward to hosting many more, as Christina mentioned, to share as much information with you as possible as it relates to Calumet City. I am Deanne Jeffrey, City Administrator, Chief of Staff, excuse me. The Mayor Jones has quite the plan and quite the vision, the revision for Calumet City. And that plan entails many different aspects to rejuvenate, to rebuild, to enhance, to provide the community with everything Calumet City deserves. So thank you again. We do have a lot of information for you today. I know there are some questions that we've already addressed just as people were walking in. So we look forward to being able to provide you with more answers to any questions and as much information as possible. With that, I'd like to introduce Mayor Thaddeus Jones.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Oh. I know you guys are excited this morning. How was the breakfast? All right, I cooked everything myself. Before we get started, let's all stand up so we can have a word of prayer. And then we start our day off every morning with a prayer. We are in the process of healing Calumet City. Part of that healing means that we come together every morning to pray. We all struggle in the morning, so we want to make sure we leave all of that at the door when we come in the morning. So let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you asking for your mercy, for your grace, for your forgiveness, and for your comfort. As we go through our struggles, we ask that you calm our minds and heal our souls and give us the things you want us to have. As we go through this week, through this day, we ask that you forgive us for the things that we don't ask you for. We ask that you watch over our families and allow us to do your will. As we come together to talk about building Calumet City, we ask that you calm our hearts and give us the things you want to see for our residents, the things you want us to see in Calumet City, our region, and as we work together to create like minds. We know that only through you that we'll be able to accomplish the things that we will do in Calumet City and our region. As we leave this place today as well, Father, we ask for traveling grace, that you watch over those coming and going. You watch over the kids and the public safety in our community and give them the grace to go home to their families. Thank you for the things you've given us. Thank you for the things you've shown us. In your mighty name, Amen. Now, I will say that one of my favorite Bible verses is the time for everything. Ecclesiastes 3, and I'll just read a little of this, that there's a time for everything and a season, for every activity under the sun, under the heavens. Time to born, time to die, time to plant, and time to uproot. Time to weep, time to laugh, time to tear down, and a time to build. Let me say that again. Time to tear down and a time to build. A time to plant the seed, a time to grow a seed. Time to dance, time to scatter stones, and time to gather. I look at that as, Calumet City has gone through many iterations over the last 20, 30 years, and it's our time. It's our time to build a city that will be here for the next 20 years to provide our residents with great services. And it's also a time to come up with new and creative ideas that we haven't thought of before that's going to make Calumet City one of the premier communities around. So before I go into my vision, I'd like to introduce our police chief, Chief Kolash. We also have and I'm sure you'll hear from them, our Director of Inspection Services, Building and Zoning. Forgot to change that. We changed that. Cheryl Tillman. We also have our Deputy Fire Chief, Pete Benanelli, in the back. And you all met Val Williams and the awesome, let's give Val Williams a round of applause. In the back you have Christina. And guess what her boyfriend's name is? Now we'll give you guys, that'd be a prize. You gotta meet him and then you'll understand what we're talking about. We also have a couple aldermen who are joining us. In the back, we have our 5th Ward Alderman, DeJuan Gardner. We have our 7th Ward Alderman in the back, Anthony Smith. And in the back that does all of the grant writing, Richard, stand up so everybody can see you. So today is a great day. I mean, we are coming together to talk about how we want to build Calumet City, my vision, our city council vision. Many of you know that we have some outstanding businesses in Calumet City. One of them that I would like to highlight is Mike Giglio from Calumet City Plumbing. Everybody knows Calumet City Plumbing. Not only do they do a good job in Calumet City, but they do a good job in our region. And we also have she was here when I had hair as an alderman. She's been our Tiff attorney we'll just keep it as our Tiff attorney. A long time. Kathy Ward, you want to stand up? So many of you know, of course, we lost the casino. Well, they kicked us out of the casino. And some communities, of course, would use that as a reason to stop progress and stop doing what they're going to do. And we cannot do that because Calumet City has so much promise. We have so much land. We have so much opportunity. There's a reason why things get taken away from people. And I feel that that casino got taken away from Calumet City so we can focus on our real issues in Calumet City. Building houses, building solid developments, and going out actually doing the work to get businesses to come to Calumet City. And it all starts with what we're doing today. It all starts with a plan. It all starts with our city council. And it all starts with us investing in Calumet City. So I always ask the question, why not Calumet City? Why not Calumet City with building new houses that we haven't built in 20 years? Why not Calumet City when we ask Portillo's or Amazon to come to Calumet City? Why not Calumet City when we go out and get places like Supercharge and we want to bring to River Oaks Mall? Why not us working together to develop River Oaks Mall? Why not Calumet City? Many of you are here today to talk about commercial development, real estate development, and the question you're probably asking and thinking about is, why should I re-engage Calumet City and help Calumet City? And the answer is that we want to make sure that Calumet City builds new houses and brings solid economic development that's going to take us through the future. We have a lot of issues to resolve, but I can tell you that this city council and I am resolved to make sure that we make economic development our top priority. We cannot do that unless we have solid people on our team to help us and give us answers when we have housing development. Give us answers when we have all of our commercial development that we want to repurpose. Give us answers and work with us when we want to build new houses in Calumet City, because that's the only way we can do it. And each and every one of you are here in your own right because you have expertise in the field of commercial development, real estate development, and you can help Calumet City take us to the next level. And it all starts with a plan. And part of my vision is, the first step is that we're gonna make sure that we redevelop River Oaks Mall. River Oaks Mall is going through a lot of transformation, and we have to get our handle on what River Oaks Mall will be down the road. Every mall around the country is failing. And we have to repurpose River Oaks Mall to the point where it's more than just a mall, it's an entertainment destination. So the plan that I'm presenting to the city council in a few weeks, that we presented in the past, is the same kind of plan, just exiting the casino out of it, where we build mixed housing and condos at the mall, where we put Supercharge in as our anchor instead of the casino, where we have a sports dome at the mall, where we have restaurants at the mall, where we have a place where people can go for entertainment and make that an entertainment destination at the mall that will sprinkle out into other areas and development in Calumet City. That can happen. That will happen. It's gonna take money, but it's also gonna take people power. And each one of you here today, you have the people power and the resources to help us not only develop Calumet City, but you also have great ideas that we need to hear from. So I want to thank each and every one of you for coming today. I ask that you keep your minds open to the development that we want to bring to Calumet City, some of the resources that we have, and some of the resources that you have to help us grow our city. I can say that the last administration should have invested $20 million a year in Calumet City. And I can say all the things that the last administration should have done, but that doesn't matter. We are here today. And as unfortunate as that is, we all have to come to the realization that if we don't take this time right now to build Calumet City, we will be like other communities that have had a mall, that have had development, and didn't do what we're gonna do today and start with developing Calumet City. If we don't do that today, in the next 2 months, because we don't have time to waste with coming up with false plans and false ideas and waiting for people to bring stuff to Calumet City. It's not gonna happen. We have to create the image of Calumet City where people want to come to Calumet City, and businesses are saying, we have a new administration that's willing to put money on the table, that's willing to build new houses, that's willing to bring economic development, and it's willing to go to New York, to Boston, and all the other places we've been so far to tell businesses, come to Calumet City. I'm willing to do that. We've done that before with some of the aldermen that are here, and we're gonna do it. We're gonna go outside the four walls of Calumet City to tell businesses that we have a positive community, that we can tell people that we are gonna make sure we build together. Think about this. We have not only our bonds that we can use, we have Tiff development that we can use, as Kathy will tell you guys. We have economic incentives that we can have to build our community up. So if we invest $100 or $200 million in Calumet City, using our funds and using other private development funds, in the next 2 or 3 years, we have the opportunity to turn Calumet City around. starting with $100 million, starting with $200 million. That sounds like a lot, and sometimes that scares the city council, but that's what we need to start to build Calumet City, because we can't wait 2 or 3 years to build Calumet City up. It has to start now. And I will just tell you guys, look at the story of Berwyn. Everybody familiar with Berwyn? Berwyn was in the same position as Calumet City was in 20 years ago. And Berwyn did 2 things to build up Berwyn. They looked at new housing. They targeted 2 segments. They targeted veterans, and they targeted the LGBTQ community. And they built up Cicero to the point where it is now. They built up new housing, which is like 10 to 20 miles away from downtown. And look at the development and growth that Berwyn has had. And they are the same size comparable to Calumet City. And they looked at and developed the housing around the economic development. So we have the space to do it. We're in the process of doing a market study. And when that market study comes back, we're definitely going to request money from IDA. We're going to request money from our federal government, our state government. Many of you know there's somebody in this room that serves in the state legislature that can help us get funds. I don't know who that person is, but we'll make sure that we tell him that Calumet City needs $100 million more. And to talk to the governor about getting us funding. But Calumet City has the impact, and we can have the regional impact because we're so close to Indiana that whatever we do can spur out to Lansing, to Dalton, to Burnham, to other communities where we can help that growth start now. So I'll just tell you guys that I'm excited. I'm excited for our future in Calumet City. I'm excited of what we're going to do. I'm excited for the grant funding that we've gotten so far. I'm excited for the great conversations we're going to have with our state and the federal officials to bring money and resources to Calumet City. But we have to start now. And many of you have in the packet some of the issues that the city council so far has turned the page on. We're getting our budget together and also putting us in the position that we are in today. But we have the opportunity right now to build Calumet City, and I'm asking you to join us. I challenge each and every one of you before I close to make sure that today is not your last day in Calumet City. I challenge you to look at the resources and what we're going to bring to Calumet City. The plan that we've created that's going to be on the board in a minute, that start with River Oaks Mall, and that's going to spread out to our other areas. But we're also excited about our new city hall, because 60% of our residents can't get into city hall. Seniors and disabled, because our city hall is not ADA accessible. So we're going to build a city hall that's more technical advanced than it is now. We're going to bring a new city hall that brings a new vision for our community, and also that brings new excitement and energy that Calumet City has been begging for. You know, our residents have been asking for things that we have not gone out and sought. And I can tell you this, I don't sleep. I don't sleep because I bleed Calumet City, because I want to make sure that when I leave this place, when the aldermen leave this place, that our names are not just going to be a marker on the wall. That people are going to say that we work together to build new housing, economic development, and we actually walked the walk and we just didn't talk. To me, I'm not satisfied till the first concrete hits the ground. And it hasn't started yet, but it is going to start. We've had some new construction that we've started, but we want to make sure that we put our first piece in the ground at River Oaks Mall and start building those houses, and then we can talk about the other successes that we're going to grow. So I look forward to your questions. I look forward to the excitement that we're all going to bring together for Calumet City, but I also look forward to your ideas. Your ideas mean more to us than money. It means more to us than you know, some of the other things that we can get. The time that you invest in Calumet City will pay off. But I ask that you guys make sure that you work with us. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I will be here for like 10 o'clock. So if you guys have any questions, I don't know, Val, if you want space to ask now, or you want to.
Yeah, for you, because I know you have several commitments today. If you have questions for the mayor, this would be a good time to ask, because he's got to get to several other things.
Any questions? Any questions?
I'll be first.
All right.
Okay.
Go.
Okay.
I just have a quick question. With all the redevelopment that you're talking about, do you also have a plan for like your vacant, a redevelopment plan for like the vacant houses or the houses that you guys have repossessed due to taxes or?
That's a great question. So the question was how the vacant houses that we have, what's our plan for that? So we put this thing in that I'm sure Tom Joseph does not want me to mention, which is Pro Champs. We brought in Pro Champs to come in and help us resolve some of our issues with vacant properties. And part of us getting our vacant properties registered, we didn't have a good plan to all of our vacant houses because they were being taken over by people that we didn't want them taken over. So our plan with our housing study is that once we get that housing study done, we have 3 identified areas that we want to build housing in. We have River Oaks Mall, we have the 5th Ward, which is by Foresight, we have the area by State Line Road, and we also are looking to add an additional one, which will be the area by Park Harbor, River Oaks Estates. So those areas are going to be included in our housing study, and that's going to allow us, when that housing study comes back, to say, what the price of the home that we can put in that area and how much money we can request from IDA. And it will allow us to make sure when people are coming in, realtors are coming in to sell those houses, we know what the market will be. So we're getting a good read on what our housing stock is now. That's going to be put in the housing study, and once that comes back in the next 30 days, it's going to allow us to do things in the 1st Ward, 5th Ward, 3rd Ward, and at River Oaks Mall. And, the city's commitment to that money as well. So we're not just going to ask an investor to come in and invest $5 or $10 million to build up our housing stock and not have skin in the game.
Right.
So the city has resources to do that. We're looking, once we present it to the city council, ask them for the resources to help as well. Just for example, if you're building a housing complex that in the 5th Ward that costs $10 million, and the developer comes up with $5 million, and the city can get another $5 million, or we can get another $2 million from IDA, that's the way we want to do it through our housing study.
Yeah, some of my investors that I work with, they did it for the Village of Dalton, with their redevelopment.
Okay.
For their vacant houses.
Okay. You had a question, man.
Talking about building like entertainment for kids and things like that, so how do you guys go about like approaching them? Because, I was thinking of stuff that we don't have, like Sky Zone that's out there in Cherville, Dave and Buster's, Potbelly's, Portillo's, all of the stuff that the young people, they don't flock to that, because it's not as comfy, but it's inexpensive, for them to come and eat and spend money.
Yeah. So, July 9th or 10th, we went out to Boston. Was it 9th or 10th? We went out to Boston, and one of the key anchors, I always said the casino was plan B, because we couldn't pin all of our hopes on a casino. And we went out and secured this venture, which is the world largest indoor racing, which is similar to like Dave and Buster, but it's Dave and Buster's on steroids. So we secured them. We had our police chief go out. We had 2 aldermen go out. We had our chief of staff go out just to look at the facility and convince them to come to Calumet City. So we have a letter of intent ready. We have them secured to come to Calumet City. The goal is to put them at River Oaks Mall. And this largest indoor racetrack is similar to Dave & Buster's, but it's way better than Dave & Buster's. because the way they want to build this and the way they are going to build this, it's going to generate between $6 to $7 million a year for Calumet City. And it will be located right on Torrance. So our goal was to start with them and make them the anchor and build around River Oaks Mall. So I'm excited for it. So hopefully, once we approve them, they can start construction, and hopefully they'll be up by next November or December.
Mayor, can you take maybe two more questions, one here and one here? And then after that, behind your survey, any questions that you have, any comments, write them out. I'll get them to the mayor. He will email in writing to respond. So we'll take these two, and then I'll make sure you get the rest of them later.
And let me just say also too, that we're not gonna wait on River Oaks Mall to negotiate with us. We've already started the process of Quick Take Authority in Springfield. We've asked the aldermen to join us with not only that approval, but we're also looking at the Quick Take process with River Oaks West. And I'll tell you reasons why. River Oaks Mall is behind in taxes of $7 million in Calumet City. River Oaks West is behind in taxes $13 million to Calumet City. That means that they're collecting taxes and rent from everyone in those malls and not paying Calumet City. It's not just Calumet City that they're disrespecting, it's all of our school districts. It's all of our other institutions. So we can't wait for River Oaks Mall to say that they're gonna pay their taxes. If they don't, we're in the process to make sure that we secure and get control of that property. So we're gonna develop it. If we have to develop it, we have to develop it. But we can't let that mall fail, and we can't not miss the opportunity to rebuild that mall and make it a world-class entertainment center. I just mentioned that we got Supercharge here. We went out, I won't say I, because there's no I in team. We went out and secured Supercharge to make them an anchor. We are in talks with Nike. We're in talks with Portillo's. We're in talks with Amazon. They all came here. But one of the things they want to see is they want to see a city that's going to invest in them. One of the reasons that Portillo's, they're building a new Portillo's in Cherville. They are going to build that. So we have to convince them that Calumet City is better than Cherville, and that our market can sustain them. So I'm not afraid to have those conversations with them, because those conversations have never been had with them before. Amazon wants to see what Calumet City is going to bring to the table. Cooper's Hawk wants to see what Calumet City is going to bring to the table. It all starts with making sure that we put a place like Supercharge there as the anchor to help build River Oaks Mall. So we're not going to wait on them. We're going to be aggressive. And that aggressive is, sometimes we're going to make mistakes. I'm not going to lie. We are going to make mistakes. We're going to ruffle a lot of feathers. But we can't sit on and not make progress. Because sitting on and not making progress is not where we want to be in Calumet City. I know we had a question in the back.
Right there.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning, Tom.
Main Street, Illinois Realtors, thank you to you specifically for hosting this, as well as to the staff and the teams for putting this together. Main Street and the Illinois Realtors are very grateful to you. So we appreciate the opportunity to have this communication and to learn more about the city and some of the vision that you're expressing, as well as the team as well. We're looking forward to that. I just wanted to say that over the years, with the point of sale inspection and some of those types of things, the city has, just like all communities, have been challenged at times as far as manpower and just being able to get out on a calendar on a regular basis. But there has been an improvement, a great deal of improvement, under Ms. Tillman's efforts and the clerk's efforts to get the inspections and the transfer stamps issued on the residential side specifically. And sometimes the brokers come in a little late, when it comes to closings. But so we would always encourage the brokers to be communicating, early on. I know during the pandemic, the city hall was closed, obviously, as many of the local governments were. So the access was limited, and so you had to mail some of the, the information, the documents, to get the transfer stamps issued once the inspection, was cleared. And so I guess the thing that I'm expressing here is an appreciation for the efforts to try to get through that process, to help the real estate community that way, but also efficiency when it comes to real estate closings, and the process matters too. And so when you're talking to your team, when Ms. Tillman is communicating with you, and the clerk is going through that process of making sure all the rules are paid, and, everything is, the clerk's office is making sure that everything is clear on the city side before issuing the transfer stamps, that the staff keep in mind that there's an efficiency. The one complaint that I get on occasion, and it's not just limited to Cal City, is getting the inspectors out in a timely manner. So once they're notified, a 3-day window, a 5-day window, a 7-day window, those kind of things matter to get that inspection process, because they might have obviously come back out to do a re-inspection, but the seller of the property may have to hire someone to do some work to get the property up to code, for the transaction, as you can understand. So we appreciate this opportunity to build with you and to move forward, and we just want to thank you and the team for your efforts to try to get through the pandemic and to try to move forward when it comes to real estate. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Tom. And I will say this. How many of you are still using paper in your business? How many of you are still using paper to run your business?
I do.
Calumet City is still using paper to run its business. And as we invest in our technology and to make, the process quicker and more efficient, we have to invest in technology to make sure that departments like inspection services run, and also that residents understand that in order for us to make Calumet City more efficient and bring more technology, we have to spend money, and we have to get the departments up and give Director Tillman all the tools she needs to make sure that we are responding and getting those transfer stamps and point of sale inspections and doing them in a timely manner. But we have to invest in technology. That's what our new building is going to do. So we're going to put the technology in there to make sure that our clerks and our inspection service department are under one roof. So they're communicating with each other, and they also, our inspectors are trained. So as Director Tillman will tell you, we are taking the effort to make sure that we do that, to make sure that our inspectors have something as simple as a tablet to go out and do an inspection, as opposed to going out, writing everything on paper and then going back to the office and, I can't read my own writing, and I don't know how, you can read the writing when you're going out doing an inspection. That means a lot, because if that inspection involves plumbing or it involves electrical and you can't read that writing, it's the difference between somebody's house, passing and not passing. So we're going to invest in the technology to make sure that that the inspectional services in all departments in Calumet City has the tools to make sure that not only realtors are successful, but also businesses that want to come to Calumet City. So we are going to invest in that. We're not going to take anything for chance. So we have to go out and ask our federal government to give us the money to do it. We've been applying for grants. Val can tell you, any grant that's out there that we can look at for technology. We're also going to have security awareness training for our employees. When we started that process, cross-training, websites. So we're trying to build a new city hall, a new government, and a new field in Calumet City that's going to be appeasing to businesses, realtors, and people who want to come to Cal City.
Mayor, may I add something? Just real quick.
Before you do
I'm
that,
sorry.
just want to also introduce our second ward alderman, Monet Wilson, just came. You need the mic.
If I can just quickly add, I appreciate the work that each and every one of you does.
Stand up.
Sorry. I lived in Arizona for 15 years. I was born, raised here, took a job out in Arizona. And within those 15 years, 7 of those years, I spent being a senior loan processor and then did my own loan origination. So I understand the detail, the time sensitivity that each and every one of you is faced with, the importance of being timely with the documents, with the information. As it relates to the clerks at City Hall, just from a housekeeping standpoint, what I can tell you, and Cleo Jones, who is here, he is the manager supervisor over the clerks. He can speak more to this and answer more questions. But internally, when we came into the office, as Mayor mentioned, stacks of paper everywhere. Everything is done old school. Nothing really digitized or stored, digitally anywhere. So what we've done already, and Cleo has orchestrated this, but the clerks have been investing time outside of the regular business hours to come to City Hall and organize and really minimize the paperwork. Reorganize the department for a more efficient department. But we have also implemented policies, procedures to help them with all of that. The communication, not just amongst the clerks, but with building and zoning, even the liens department, as it relates to liens on properties, including water liens and such. And so we have really worked to organize that better and strengthen that communication. So to your point, sir, we have identified that, and we will continue to work on that and strengthen that. And I do ask that, I've talked with a lot of realtors, and obviously when it's time to close at the table, that's when there's a really big push, right? A lot of these clerks are faced with realtors, agents, title companies, providing the necessary documentation for the transfer stamp and expecting that transfer stamp to be issued that same day. So that is something we can talk through, to make sure, we all have an understanding to be able to work together in partnership with each and every one of you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're gonna take a couple more questions, and then we got a question in the back.
Yes, sir. Hey, first of all, I haven't seen you in a while, so congratulations.
Congratulations. When you stood up, I was like, that's my guy.
Second, I do want to do some kudos. This is probably the best breakfast food that I've ever had.
Can you guys tell the chef to come in? Val, can you get the chef in? So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's the first thing. And then I'm gonna also give congratulations for inviting us and not talking at us and talking to us. I've been to a lot of these, they'll talk at realtors, but not talk to realtors. And then I have one just little thing where housing, I keep hearing this throughout the south suburbs. I'm born and raised here. I'm an appraiser for 20 years. I'm a realtor too. And a lot of my appraiser experience though, people keep pushing building new houses. You gotta be careful that there's actually a market for it. Because I go around and then I appraise houses that were built 10 years ago that's selling for less than current houses. So I'm just saying, just be cautious about pushing new construction and make sure that the market is actually there so you're not going backwards. Other than that, thank you so much.
And that's a great point. And sometimes, communities, they oversell and they overbuild and they overthink. And that's what the purpose of our housing study that we're gonna do, to tell us if we even should build new houses in the 5th Ward or the 1st Ward or at River Oaks. So we're not gonna leave it to chance and say, okay, this is part of our plan and we wanna do this and we wanna build that. But I think we all can agree that new housing can be sustainable at River Oaks Mall if you do it right, but mixed housing and condos. And I think we all can look at all of the areas that the city has acquired, because we've acquired property in the 5th Ward and we've left like large swaths of land that we need to build houses on. Because there were houses there before that sustained the community. So every house that we tear down and that we acquire, we take that off the tax rolls. So if we're looking at to build Calumet City, we have to start first with the houses that we have that are vacant, build new houses, but let's see what that housing study brings us back, and let's do it in a coordinated effort that's gonna make sure that you guys are a part of this, our aldermen are a part of this, because every alderman wants to build new houses and economic development in their wards. But let's do that to the point where we're using not only all of our city money, but there's IDA money out there that we can use for large developments to build it. We just want to make sure that it's going to work in an area like River Oaks Mall in the areas we identified. So our housing study is going to be the right point to do that. And then we're looking for you guys to tell us ideas of how to do that. Do you build 10 at a time? Do you build 20 at a time? Do you build 50 at a time? Do you build condos here or not there? Because, quite honestly, that helps the realtors as well. I mean, everybody wants to sell, a $200,000 condo, but if it's only worth, $50,000, then we've all defeated the purpose for it. I wanted to
Hold on to him while you talk.
I want to introduce Chef Andrew London from Creations. Please use him. He is the baddest chef in the world. He's also, we have any White Sox fans in here? Boo. Chef London is the executive chef at Wrigley Field Rooftops. So he will not let you in if you're a White Sox fan. So you guys just missed the mark, all you White Sox fans. All right, I'll take one more question and.
No, that,
Wait, Val, let me get him one more out. Get one more. Val's gonna cut you off real quick.
Well, thank you, Mayor, for having us. I have to echo what my colleague said. Breakfast is just absolutely amazing, and I am definitely enjoying myself. I do want to piggyback on what Tom Joseph, and by the way, my name is Shantae Gray. I'm with the Governmental Affairs Committee and Kairos Real Estate. But I want to echo what Tom Joseph mentioned earlier about inspectional services. I've had an experience with several of the transactions that I've sold here in Calumet City where the inspectors are not very consistent in their inspections. And that definitely hinders our process. I just would like to know, is there things in place to kind of help those inspectors go along?
And I know Cheryl will touch on this. Part of that too is just getting more training and developing a consistent program where not only Director Tillman and the inspectors know what they're going out and inspecting, but again, taking that translation that they're doing as opposed to writing it on paper, putting it in the computer so it's easily understandable and there's consistency in the technology. Because if we take you to inspectional services and you see all the paper that's down there, you would not like what you see down there. But Director Tillman has managed that. She's done a great job. We've given her the autonomy to not only build that department up, but we want to make sure that, again, that we have to get the technology in there that's going to sustain us for the future. It's hard, as Deanne said, you guys, when you call about a transfer stamp, you want it right away. And multiply. You want it right away. You want to win 30 minutes. And sometimes we can't get it in 30 minutes. We can probably get it tomorrow. But if it has a lien on that property, that's another process that Calumet City has failed at with our liens. So we're working through that process now just to get us to the point where we're addressing our liens, and we're also making sure that when we give you the property, it's clean. It's a clean title that you can get. And I will say this, that we have many departments in our city, and all of them now are working together, and we are not only building morale with each other, but we're going through the struggles with each other. And through those struggles, we learned a lot about Calumet City. I served 17 years as alderman, and I'm still amazed every day of the stuff that we learn about Calumet City and how we can improve it and go together. But it's all a fight. It's not a bad fight. It's a good fight that we got to face together, but it's the aldermen working together and giving us the resources, the department heads doing their jobs, but also with all the challenges that we didn't resolve 5 years ago, we got to resolve now. And not in the fast food way where we're resolving them and creating more issues, like you said with the inspectors, but looking at what they need and giving them the tools to be successful. Because, our inspectors have been here, they know Calumet City, but let's give them all the tools they need to come out and give a consistent inspection so we don't get those kind of issues. And before I go, I don't know if our aldermen want to come up for 30 seconds and say a few words. We'll go off script for a minute. If any of you guys want to come up. If you do, come on now, because we got, any of you guys, you know, the one thing about the elected official and the preacher, they're not afraid of a mic, so. This is Alderman Anthony Smith.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Great to meet everyone here. I just can't say enough about this meeting. This is a great start. I don't think historically we've had this kind of meet and greet along with the agenda that the mayor has prepared. So I thank you for coming out. I ask that you be a part of this new vision as we continue forward. My office is 708-891-8197, and I thank you. And if you have any questions, my ward, just to let you know, is where the mall is. So that's been a central part of Calumet City. It's been more of a staple of Calumet City. It's the area that the mayor and his administration wants to attack, and I'm right along with them. So I thank you for coming out and look forward to working with each one of you.
I just felt in my spirit that if I didn't stand up, he would still be here talking. Good morning. I am the 2nd Ward Alderwoman, Monet S. Wilson. This is my 5th month in office. Go ahead, you can round of applause. Thank you all for being here and assisting us in pushing the vision of reimagining Calumet City forward. I have the greatest ward in Calumet City, of the 2nd Ward. We've identified parcels of land that can be built upon. The mayor has requested a study to see what would be feasible, and we just want people to support us. We have a booming tax base here. We are often overlooked because of assumptions and preconceived, you know what I'm saying. We have families. We are a city of small communities, and I have 2 boys born and raised in Calumet City, and that's what we want to bring into Calumet City. People who want to 10 toes down in our city, raising families and being productive citizens and boosting our economic development. To piggyback with what the mayor said, Director Tillman, she knows this city in and out. She knows what's on every piece of paper in her department. Use her. She's a great resource. Thank you so much.
Notice she said every piece of paper. I'm trying to get away from the paper and do technology. Alderman, 5th Ward Alderman Dewan Gardner.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for having us this morning. Give yourselves a round of applause for coming out. I think this is much needed dialogue and conversation. It's been long overdue. Many of you have been here through multiple administrations, and so the time is now that we act. I think is very important. Glad to see all the realtors here. Kathy Orr, I think we can do some great things in the 5th Ward. My ward in the northeast portion of the ward is where a lot of homes have been demolished in the previous with no intentions on rebuilding. So now we having that conversation, and so that's what we look forward to doing. Thank you, Mayor, for having us this morning and having this event and forum. All right, thank you all.
All right, let me turn it back over to Val, because I know you guys got a robust agenda. We are already past the 9:30 stage. Just want to do quick question and answer. So I will turn it back over to Val.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, everyone.
We're going to switch from residential to commercial and big business development. We'll begin with that with Kathy Orr, who is our Tiff attorney, tax increment
Dan,
financing, a major
you
economic
got
development
wipes to
tool
wipe this off?
and engine within the city.
Ask them if you got wipes.
Good job. Good morning. Is this on?
That one's just for recording.
So I have to use the other. I don't know. I can yell pretty well. I'm not sure I need a mic. I have kids, and so I learned how to yell years ago. I don't know where the mic is. Anyway. Is there a mic? Yeah. Oh, they're cleaning it off. How nice. Thanks a lot. Good morning. Okay, you've heard my name. My name is Kathy Orr, and as the mayor was so kind, he didn't say, she's been around here 25 years. He didn't say that, and I love him for it. And having said that, though, I have been here through multiple administrations, but I am more excited now than I have been in years. And so I'm hoping it'll go on. So what I want to do, I'm not going to talk long. I want to talk about Tiff, tax increment financing. Because as much as I talk about it,
Go back behind the podium.
oh, shuckaroonies.
Yeah, he's recording you, Kathy.
That's a bad idea. Anyway, as much as I have talked about tax increment financing, I am always shocked to see how it is misunderstood. So let's talk about it. What is it? Tax increment financing is the most effective economic development tool that we have as municipalities in the state of Illinois. It is the thing. In Calumet City over the years, we've had 8 TIFs, 8 redevelopment project areas. We are now down to 3 very effective ones. First of all, we have one along 159th. There's an active TIF along Sibley Boulevard, and we are still working on State Street. And it has progressed a lot. I don't know how many of you know what it looked like 25 years ago when I first came to the city. It is greatly improved. That's not to suggest there isn't a lot to do. So how does it work? That's another thing. I speak all the time. Everybody says, oh, I know how TIF works. No, you don't. Oh, I do. And then I get a question that absolutely illustrates that I don't know what the hell they're talking about. So I'll tell you how it works. I'll take it to the simplest level you can, because once I finish, it all clicks. I own a house, okay? I own a house and I pay taxes on it every year. My taxes are X. And every year I pay my taxes, they're X. And all of a sudden I decide, you know what? I need a garage. So I build the most fabulous 2-car garage you could possibly build. So now my property is more valuable. My property is in a TIF, and now it's more valuable. So my taxes are no longer X, they're X plus 10. Now because it's in a TIF, that 10, the incremental taxes, go into a special fund held by the city and strictly guarded. It can only be used for certain economic development purposes. It has to be reported on every year. It has to be reported with the state. Copies of the use of that funds has to go to all the taxing districts so the schools could make sure that you're using it properly. So it is a valuable tool, and when I bring it to that simple level that you see when you improve your property, that increase in taxes because of the improvement is all that is available in a TIF. Now, okay, I just told you we had 8 of them, and why is she here, and why has she been here for 25 years, and why the heck do we need her anyway? Because establishing a TIF is not an easy thing. It takes a minimum of 6 months. You have to first establish criteria. Is the area in need of incentives to get it moving? And how do you determine that? Well, we've got a lot of that in Cal City, and that's why we're working on it and continue to work on it. For example, and the mayor talked about it, buildings that are the big boxes that now have to be repurposed, because those types of retail, those types of industrial uses are no longer required. So you have to have criteria. Oh, you can have criteria like if the area is subject to chronic flooding, if the area more than 50% of the houses are or buildings are more than 30 5 years of age. That means there's always code improvements that are required. If it's a rail yard that's been abandoned, if it's any kind of a quarry that's been abandoned. So there are all of these elements that must be in place in order to establish a TIF. Once you establish that, you have to have a plan for it. Somebody asked before, so what's your plan? What good is it to do all these things without a plan? So once you have a TIF, you have to have a plan. And then you have to have public hearings, you have to announcements, you have to send certified mail to all of the property owners, you have to have a meeting with all of the taxing districts, and it goes on and on and on. So that by the time the TIF is established, the hope and the prayer is that all of you who are invested in the city, most particularly in the area, are ready to take it on and possibly use this as an economic incentive tool. Now, the big mistake everybody makes is, oh, you have a TIF, give me some money. I just told you how the money is calculated. There is no TIF pot when you create a TIF. You have to have development. You often negotiate with a developer and say, okay, if you build that garage, I said, well, I need a little bit of money to help me build the garage. So out of that plus 10, can I use 2? Because the reason is the area I want to build that garage is sunken. And so I'm going to have to do some major foundation work that makes the cost of my garage more expensive if you wanted to build a garage on your property. So I negotiate with the city to say, I got extraordinary problems here. I want to improve my property. I want to make it more valuable. I'm going to pay more taxes on it once I do. So can I use a little portion of that tax to make it economically feasible? Because without your help, I got to put it off for another 5 years, maybe 10, who knows? So the 2 things about TIF that I want to leave you with, I hope my simple explanation hasn't insulted any of you. I hope that, because it is bringing it down to a simple level. I want you to know that TIF is a very valuable tool, but I don't want 2 misconceptions. Number 1, that when you create a TIF, there's a pot of money there. You have to negotiate it, you have to develop it. And number 2, and this was underlying when I gave you my example, because the property is in a TIF, it doesn't increase your taxes. Your taxes are only going to increase if you, in fact, improve your property. So there's 2 things I want to leave you with. TIF, there's no pot of money, pot of gold, okay? You have to work at it and create it. And number 2, being in a TIF doesn't increase your taxes. So that it's an economic development tool Calumet City has used in the past, and given the program that we see this administration has undertaken, we believe it'll be even more valuable to us in Cal City. I don't think anybody has any questions, do you? Thank you. Thank you.
We're going to step outside of our corporate boundaries for just one moment and go into the region. Reginald Greenwood is representing the South Suburban Mayors and Managers Association and their CDC, their Economic Development Engine. So that's 69 communities that we're part of that COG. He'll talk about enterprise zone benefits that you probably know something about, and the opportunity zones that we have access to as well.
Well, top of the morning, everyone. It's good to see you here. So I have so don't worry about the slideshow. No one's using the slideshow. I'll just talk. I can do that. I do want to ask you another one-on-one economic development question. What is the main thing that companies look for when they decide to locate somewhere? What's the main thing? I ask this question all the time. What would it be? What I don't know your name, but what's your answer? Yes, you.
Jobs.
You know what they're looking to locate. What are they looking for to make that decision? Someone give me an idea.
Liability. Accessibility.
Close, good. Those are good. What's another one? Someone.
Affordability.
Well, I'll tell you the answer, and I know this because I talk to a lot of companies. It's workforce. Do you have people that? That's where I was headed. It's workforce. What kind of job talent do you have now and what type of job talent will you have in the future is without a doubt, every company I work for, that's number one. Number two is logistics assets. How can I move my product if I move it? How do I get stuff into my building? How do I get it and move it somewhere else? So those are without a doubt the two biggest location decisions. The third one is taxes. Now, most people will ask that question and go, taxes. How high are my taxes? Taxes are important. People make a lot of decisions on taxes, but the two things that drive location decisions are workforce and the logistics assets. So a lot of the stuff that I've done over the last several years have been about in the region working to build up the workforce, education workforce program. So I have a lot of partners in this where we work with high schools and companies and community colleges to be able to tell a firm that we have people trained for your job now, but we have a regional effort to develop training programs in the future. So high schools are really, key to this. In working with high school, this is TF, right? Yes. Yeah. So we do a lot of work with every high school district in the entire region, TF being one of them. And one of the things we've done is to create a robotics program at high schools to help young people get the opportunity to begin to deal with the specific types of skill sets they are going to need to succeed in the future. And we team those companies, high schools with companies to provide mentorships. Like one of the companies I work with a lot here is Ability Engineering. No, that's in Lansing. K Manufacturing, that's in Calumet City, right? K is a very sophisticated company. They're located here. Brian is a great guy. And we need to build the workforce for him, his company, to succeed. So when you think about what you're doing as an economic development program, think about your high schools and work with us on being able to help them develop the kind of skill set they need to succeed. The other is logistics assets. You have 94 right over there, wherever I'm pointing, 94 right over there. So what is the biggest trend right now in new development that's occurring in our region and in the country? Amazon. What? Amazon, right. So Amazon right now, the Chicago Southland, get this, is the biggest concentration of Amazon facilities in the country. Amazon is the biggest concentration. So have you guys been over to Markham? Have you seen that building at Markham? Yes. It is 4 million square feet. Yep. And they built the same dang building in Madison, the same building. Those are not buildings with robots. Those are robotic buildings. The building will watch you when you walk in, I swear to God. You walk into it and there's the building, I think it's alive, but whatever. Maybe the robots are taking over, or maybe it started. But why are they there? Location, location, location. If location, where's Tom? Tom would always say, real estate decisions are location, location, location. It is now for sure true. And one of the big assets that Calumet City has is access to the city. Right? So now we're into, when you order from Amazon, how quickly do you want your package? That dang same day. Are we going nuts? It's crazy. You can order something and get it the same day. So what we have here is an opportunity to think about is the last mile delivery is an opportunity for us to be able to get, to serve the city well. Like a lot of the last mile investments by Amazon now have been at the Pullman, at 95th Street, right where Whole Foods, the distribution center is, and Amazon's building the new facility there. That should be on 94 out here. So last mile decision is a location, is an opportunity we have to build. Another thing is, you guys have the Gary Airport is right over there. Now, many of you know, I've been working on trying to help build the South Suburban Airport, which is in Peatone, a bigger new airport, but we are forgetting the advantages of the Gary Airport. And something, Val, where's Val? We should start thinking, we talked about this the other day. We need to go over and start talking to Gary Airport. But guess who's looking over there right now? So that's a big asset for us. Education, location, and Amazon, Gary Airport. As Kathy was saying, there are tools. Okay, so those are the drivers of economic development. Taxes are important, but they don't drive decision making. But you have to have incentives to be able to make a deal finish. So without a doubt, TIFs are the key economic development tool. There are other ones that we have that you should really be aware of. You're members of a very successful enterprise zone. So I'll give someone an extra biscuit if you can tell me the difference between an enterprise zone and a TIF. What's the difference? Between, I know you don't get the count. Okay, good, go ahead.
You talking about the opportunity zone?
No, that's a different one. Enterprise zone.
Oh, the enterprise, never mind.
Okay, the enterprise zone, a developer does not have to pay sales tax on building materials and related materials. So, the tax increment fine district is you capture the property tax over time. It's when you build something in an enterprise zone, you do not have to pay sales tax on that. So if you're building a big project, that's a significant incentive, right? The Amazon building was $100 million, so it was in an enterprise zone. That's a big deal. But any project not having to pay sales tax on building materials and other gets complicated exactly how that all gets, but that's the main premise. The other one that you have is an opportunity zone. Opportunity zones, and they haven't been as aggressive as we think they have been, but an opportunity zone helps for a big development. It's got all kinds of things with capital gains. And if you think TIF's complicated, opportunity zones is more complicated. But it's worth being, there are opportunity zones here. I haven't seen them as much as I thought they would be, but it's a chance if you have unrealized capital gains in your back pocket, which I don't have. Do you have? If you have unrealized capital gains in your back pocket, you can invest them in a project in an enterprise zone and delay the having to pay taxes for 10 years, and you don't have to pay capital gain taxes on the increase in value of a property you have then. That makes sense. I mean, it's a tool. It's not as applicable as enterprise zones because everybody pays sales taxes when they buy material. So those are tools I wanted to get a chance to talk to you about: TIF, enterprise zone, and opportunity zone. But the particular thing I have worked on, would like to continue to work with Val and the mayor on, is that the region needs to really emphasize education, 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 and workforce, workforce, workforce. Those are the drivers that make things happen, and that's what I've been spending time on doing, trying to do. Okay, how about it? I know we don't have questions, but thank you for your attention. It was great to be here. Val's a good friend, and I'm happy to be here. If anybody, Tom, I know Tom, you have any questions or how I can help, I will continue to work with the city, but contact me. Are you Bob Kolish's son?
Yes.
You look like Bob. I know Bob well.
There's one.
He's got more hair than me, though.
That's right. He does.
Thank you, Reggie. There's one thing that Reggie didn't mention, and we really, all of you all need to be Cheryl's friend. Under the Enterprise Zone program, building permit fee waivers.
Oh, yeah, sure.
She controls that.
Forgot that.
And for eligible projects within an agreement with the city, that's who you needs to talk to. Now, she may call me and ask me what you think, Val, but that's the person you want to make friends with.
By the way, show my slideshow again real quickly. Isn't that nice? Look at it. It's a great slideshow, by the way.
Okay. Thaddeus, if you could...
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
I forgot. The other real driver of economic right now is innovation, and it's e-commerce. So one of the things, I've developed a whole program about e-commerce training, and if anybody's interested in e-commerce training to help tell Val to tell me, because we have a really sophisticated, I'm also connected to Governor State University, and we really have a online training about SEO. Who knows what SEO means? All right, what does it mean? Oh my God, the world has changed. Anyway, so we have a whole class on, evaluating your SEO and data analytics, and so e-commerce is another driver, so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I would like to do a shout out. Thank you, Reginald. Just a real quick shout out to Pete Bendinelli, who really stuck with us on helping getting this together today. We have a really good team of folks in economic development, including boots on the ground. We have Jesse Tate for you. You need someone to come directly to you to help you with a project. Richard Chambers is a really good researcher in our department. But the person I'd like to highlight the most for today is Christina Signorelli. She is the one that you've talked to. She's been with the city for a little bit, a few months, and she's just been awesome with getting our events together. Now, I'm going to speak on some specifics. We won't go into the flowers and all the things that we've talked about. You know that we're wonderful. We've presented ourselves as professional and wonderful. You've met some of the developers and some of the businesses that have been in here for a while. I want to talk to you about what we do in economic development, what Cheryl does, what the clerk's office will eventually tell you. Number one, you see all those big box abandoned properties on River Oaks Drive. You see the former Toys R Us. You see the former Walgreens. You see the former Applebee's, the former Target, the former Circuit City, the former Sears. Well, let me tell you, the former Walgreens is under development. The former Applebee's is under development. The former Target is under development. So how do we do that when big boxes walk away? The city has set up a turbocharged effort to acquire properties that are tax delinquent. We either do it by the no cash bid program, or we partner with the South Suburban Land Bank. Our guru is back there, Alderman. We partner with Cook County Land Bank. That allows us, the city, to take control of those abandoned properties, work with realtors. Realtors have made some serious money with us on that. You're not, what I want to say, you're not selling the property to make your money. You're working with us to acquire the property that we pay a service for. I'll give you an example about the former Target. The former Target had been abandoned for a while. That particular owner was not late in property taxes, only by 1 year, so it was easily acquired. We work with the realtor to have, and this is just a simplified way of saying it, to have that property donated to the city. We paid the realtor nearly $100,000 to have that brought forth. So basically, we acquired the property for $100,000. We do it toward this part of the year because that owner can then, at the first of the year, write the property off for as much money as he wants to. 15 million, 20 million, whatever. The broker is happy. The owner of the property is happy. So this is how, one of the reasons why we brought you here today. Those abandoned properties, if you have someone that's interested in that, it may take a while when it's tax delinquent. It may take a year because of the redemption period that you probably know about. It may take even longer when there's multiple pins involved. But if you have a developer or someone that's interested in that property, they can go into an agreement with the city to acquire it. We eliminate all the back taxes and convey it to that person for the approximate amount of costs that we spend. Now, to acquire property tax delinquent properties, and I mean some of them are delinquent $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. Richard found one that was nearly $700,000. Now, during that period, it may take us, during that redemption process, it may take us anywhere from a year to 2 years to acquire. Our fees with court costs and attorney costs and staff time is somewhere between $12,000, $13,000 to maybe $30,000. We can convey
to someone. Now, this is just what we have done and what we could do. We can convey to the user for that cost, maybe add a few extra $1,000 in there. So say not to exceed $50,000. When they get that property, it's going to be worth something. You know how properties have excelled in value. Right now, we have a developer that's doing Applebee's. We did it through that process. I'm sure it's a $700,000 building. That gives them sustainable power, that line to be successful, to break even quickly, to do well. So this is the creative way we work with realtors when it comes to the development community. I do want to mention, just real quickly, the city-owned properties that we have. We own Circuit City, so we're looking for a developer for that. The roof needs a little bit fixing, isn't that right? The HVAC system needs to be touched up a little bit, and then we have problems with people breaking in and taking the electrical. But if we convey for $10, and I'm looking over there at the alderman back there, Alderman Smith, that's his ward. We have some interest in it, but there's other property that we own. We own the former Sears. We're looking at acquiring the, the former Pepe's. Isn't that right, Cheryl? Yes. So all of those properties up and down Lincoln, up and down River Oaks Drive, up and down Torrance Avenue, if you see anything on Sibley, and it looks like it's tax delinquent, you know how to use cookcountytreasurer.com. You guys are on it all the time. You know who those owners are. Come see us and let us walk you through the process. Talk to the aldermen of that ward. All of them are proficient in this process. Miss Monet back there, she says she's only been around for a few months. Well, it's turbocharged. That girl knows what she's doing as well. So you contact your alderman if you can't get one of us. Now, I only wanted to talk about some specifics. There's some flowery things we can always talk about, but I know right now you want the meat on the bone. So let me just pass it on. I think, who's next? Cheryl? No? Look at the agenda. Cleo's next. This is meat on the bone. He's building, this is transfer stamps and licenses and that kind of thing. Okay, here you go.
Good morning, everyone. I have also here Mr. Quentin Daly. He's in the office of the clerks also. He works for us as well. So we're going to go right at it. We're going to talk about first our business license. The business license process is being revamped and it's under the construction process. So you say, what does that mean? So that means that we are working with the mayor and the aldermen, all the women. We're going to be streamlining the process to make it more efficient. And make it efficient for you who want to come in and get a business license, meaning that when the mayor already touched on a lot of it, I'm a 33-year banker in computer technology, computer services. I've been around the banking industry for 30-some years plus and understand the operations of how to bring technology in, because when I first came here, the mayor and the chief of staff showed me some of the areas, along with the Director Tillman over there, and the words that came out of my mouth was, wow, and oh my. And because when the pandemic rolled upon our shores, I was pretty much running the bank out of my man cave. I had a $2,400 computer laptop in my possession, running operations of the bank that I used to work for. So the fact is that we need to bring more technology into the city, and that will streamline the process when it comes to business license, transfer stamps. So I'm going to continue with the business license. So at this time, the business license process is, hold on one second here. So we are revamping the business license process. It's under construction, and we are expecting to have the process ready to go by the first of the year. At this time, we are currently not accepting any application until the process has been completely done. So we apologize for any inconvenience This may cause you. We appreciate your business, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Also, once the process has been completely revamped, it's going to flow very smoothly. I mean, completely smoothly. And one of the changes that you will see in the business, in the license process, will be the communications process. The communication process between the mayor, the council, and you, who the business owner. And that's going to flow much, much smoother. And through technology, it's going to make it much, much smoother. Because the fact is that when you apply for a business license, that will be on the screen that we understand from the inspectional services. We will be able to see, once you apply for something, we will be able to see on the screen that where we stand in the process. Right now, we don't know. It's all paper done. We don't know where you stand in the process. So let's flip that back to the transfer stamps. I'd like to answer the gentleman's questions. So once a transfer stamp starts the process with inspectional services, so inspectional services have to go through a plethora of checkpoints. Once the checkpoints are done, then the stamps are transferred to the clerk's office. The clerk's office then checks the process and ensure that are there any liens in the process, any liens on the stamp, on this transfer declaration. If there's no liens on it, then it flows quite fluidly through the process. But if there are a lien, that's when the stop sign comes up. So since I've been in the clerk's office for a couple of 2 months, I lost about 10 to 15 pounds because I'm heading up the stairs to go have it checked with the lien. And we don't hold up the process. If we do determine that there are liens on this particular stamp, what we do is, Mr. Denny can tell you, I tell them get on the phone right away, let's get in touch with the business owner. So we can keep the process flowing perfectly so you don't have to wait, because we know how important it is for you to get that stamp done. Get that stamp pushed through, ensure that that business transaction has been completed and all the connections has been done. So we are working as diligently as we can to ensure that process is done. But through technology, soon as that stamp hits the door, the clerks will be able to look online, look on the computer system and see that if you call and say, my stamp is in this particular order, they would be able to go online and look and say, okay, it's hit inspectional. It hit this particular checkpoint, hit this particular checkpoint. Now we're expecting it to flow to us. But now, without that technology, everything is like working in the old. If anyone ever seen the stock market where the runners are on the floor passing the tickets along, trying to get the bids. So the process is in that particular order where there's runners. The inspectors actually physically walking out and checking things. Just like the mayor mentioned, tablets. The tablets will come back to Director Tillman's office and she will see a checkpoint where they stand. If a call comes into the office, say, where do I stand with my transfer stamp? She'll be able to look on her computer system and see where we stand with that. So developing technology is everything. Because I came out of a cloud-based system where that once something is done, we send it through, we scan it in, it's off and rolling. The aldermen want to see where they stand in the process, they get a call, they would better go online and look and see where things stand. So that's where we're at. We're developing technology, bringing in the new. And we're going to continue to develop the process and streamline the process. And the mayor is right. We're going to take an aggressive approach into developing the business license when it comes back into online. And we're going to take an aggressive approach in developing the transfer stamp process. So we just ask you, the business community, to bear with us and bear with the council and bear with the mayor until this process come up. And once it comes up, it's going to be very, very fluid and very, very good. So we're developing a book for you guys to take with you guys. Once it's come up, you'll be able to see the entire process. Mr. Quinn, you have anything to say? Go ahead.
Again, good morning to everybody. We're appreciative having this Realtor breakfast with the mayor. We're thankful to our mayor and to all of our elected officials for putting on this particular program to allow us the opportunity from our office to be able to talk directly with the realtors. So I am one of the clerks that work in the office that you all have the wonderful pleasure of. There's a lot of familiar faces that we see on a daily basis within our office. I would say the number one thing that from the clerk standpoint that we are challenged with is that a lot of time residents are coming in to handle their transfer stamp paperwork. And a lot of times they don't know anything about transfer stamps. So when they come in, they don't have their deeds, they don't have a copy of the necessary documents that they need. So that process makes the process become even longer, because once they start, the first step now, because the doors are closed, is they will start an inspection services. Inspection services has to make sure that that property is up to code, that everything is being met within the city limits. Also, inspection services also helps out with the liens. They're actually the first step with the liens. They contact to see if there are any liens, and then when they come over to our office, if there is any liens, then we have to do the legwork of finding it. But it makes it 10 times harder when you are on the closing table and you send the seller or the buyer in to take care of those particular transfer stamps. And we always say that if you have any questions about anything with your transfer stamps, call us. We would love to answer them first through email, through calling. That way, before you get there, we can have a clear understanding all around the board. Certified funds, also, a lot of different companies don't understand that right now with the city, we only accept certified funds. So there's cashier check, attorney's checks, or money order. We can't take any personal checks. And right now, we're not open to the public, where it used to be where you can come in and get them the same day, where you can pay with cash or your debit or credit card. Right now, it's only certified funds. So that holds up the process too, because if someone comes in with a personal check, they pay for their transfer stamps, and now you're an additional 2 days, your closing is on Friday, so now everybody is upset and everybody is mad for little simple things. So I would say we also are putting together with Mr. Cleo, we are brainstorming. We're so glad that he's here in our office. He's actually brought a lot of insight and a lot of light to our office for things that we need to do. We're actually going to work towards getting an informational sheet to go out when you do pick up those real estate transfer stamp declarations form. That way you know exactly what you need, so it kind of cuts the legwork. But we do appreciate you guys. It's a lot of effort, I know, with buying and selling a home. And trust me, I don't know the first step in doing it, but I do appreciate you guys and everything that you bring here to the city.
And once again, we like to thank each one of you for coming out this morning. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we are going to grow this process and to make it efficient for each and every one of you. He has one question real quick in the back.
Can you just clarify the business license? Because the brokers, the individual brokers, are licensed with the state of Illinois. So I'm assuming you're talking about businesses in Cal City, but not real estate.
Yes. We're talking about the businesses within Cal City. And right now, we are streamlining the process.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah, and I want to thank Quentin, because he has reached out to me on a few occasions when I've contacted the clerk's office on behalf of real estate brokers, in their process of trying to go from inspection to transfer stamps. And he's very diligent in reaching out and following up. And I know he tries to work with the real estate community as much as he can to try to help solve some of that. So.
Yes, thank you very much, and we appreciate that. And as well, we're going to continue to work with each and every one of you guys. So the fact that if there are problems and when that stamp reaches our office, we're going to do our diligence to ensure that stamp is moved along. Okay? Thank you.
Cheryl's going to come up next, but I do need to mention something about the property taxes. I think that's a big issue when you're trying to sell in Calumet City. Is that correct? Okay, we have something called the Cook County Property Tax Class Incentive 8 for commercial development, industrial development, manufacturing development. You can call my office for more on that. 60% off the sales tax, 60% off of property taxes forever. Forever. So talk to me about that at some point when you're dealing with your developers. Those of you we've talked to, you're familiar with it. So Class 8 is a run the gamut. Okay.
It's still morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming out. I'm not sure if I need the mic. Can everyone kind of hear me clear? Okay. This was exciting when Val invited me to this breakfast, because I'm like, oh, I get an opportunity now to speak to you on a collective basis about what we do at Inspectional Services. So many of your faces are already very familiar to me. I've seen a couple of new faces, and I'd like to reintroduce myself. I'm Cheryl Tillman, Director of Inspectional Services / Building and Zoning Department. So even though we're here as it relates to realtors and as it relates to commercial, I want to let you know our office also includes commercial real estate. We also include inspecting other properties. We also include concerns and complaints when it comes to property maintenance. We also are included when it comes to animal control. We also included when it comes to PD and fire safety. So our office is really what we consider a hub of the city. So it's just one facet, but it's one important facet. So as it relates to the inspections and the property sale of transfer stamps, I want to just if you allow me a few moments to explain to you the process. So it begins with the point of sale inspection. We currently now have 4 inspectors, and we normally will have 7. We're in the process of hiring inspectors, but the qualifications has to be met, and that's where we're having a problem at. We have to have ICC certified inspectors, and that would speak to your question as it relates to if you have one inspector to come out and then you have an inspector that's actually qualified in that field. So I'll give you an example. If you call our office and you need an inspection and you need the inspection within the next 2 to 3 days, I might not have the certified field inspector of an electrical inspector that's available, because we're not only doing point of sale inspections, but we're doing commercial inspections, we're doing habitable homes inspections, we're doing vacant property inspections, we're doing squatters home inspections, and we're also doing commercial development inspections all at the same time, sometimes simultaneously. So I might send a building inspector that will do the full scope of that inspection report. But once the inspection report is brought back to the office, then we streamline the inspection report to go into the fields of it. So if it says electrical, all brought to code, then the electrical inspector will look at the report and review the report and say, okay, this is what's required. This is Romex wiring, or we need GFIs in the garage. So that's when the actual inspection report is broke down to exactly in what's required. As it relates to the commercial inspections, it's the same thing. We have the inspectors to go out, and the inspectors bring the paperwork. As the mayor said, our office is predominantly still paper at this time. We're also going toward technology in terms of streamlining it. Our inspectors will now have tablets. They will also be bringing the tablets back. We actually have a meeting on Tuesday with the company that's looking to come into the city, whereas we're looking for kiosks in our lobby. So you'll be able to do a lot of the work yourselves, and the work will be done on the computer. And when you come into the office, you'll just be picking up the permit if it's something that relates to the permit, or scheduling of your inspections as it relates to the permit. So these are options and things we're looking at in terms of streamlining the services that we're able to provide to you. Also, as it relates to, I think it was another question, I believe, in terms of the timeline for inspectors. Our trade inspectors, we call trade inspectors our plumbing inspectors and our electrical inspectors. They're the inspectors that's always most needed, and they're the ones that's always out a few days longer than the general building inspectors. So what we're trying to do now is, and I'm always there to try to assist and work with the realtors and our residents as to the best of our abilities. What I say is I can't create an inspector that I don't have. But if I have any way that I can move an inspection of another resident is willing to work with us to allow another inspection to take place, we do that on a daily basis pretty much. And we have a great team and some great residents when it's something as simple like a window inspection. A window inspection, they might allow me to move their inspection to a different date or a time, so then I can make the availability for a point of sale inspection, because now you're on a time sensitive basis in terms of closing. So we do work with you in that instance. I will say, as Mr. Quinton was saying, as it relates to some of the documents that we receive, is where we need some assistance from the realtors and from, we can also say the attorneys, because some of the documents we receive are not completed documents, or we're receiving the documents from the residents who really do not have any idea sometimes what's all entailed and what needs to be filled out. You know, they say, I was just told to come here and present this to you. And we have a list of required documents. And it's really a simple process that we try to move forward as long as we have all the documents. Originally, we used to be able to check liens in our own department. Now we have a lien department. So we have to allow time for the lien process to, yes, okay. See, he pointed it out, Mr. Tom, that we do provide that list of the required documents. our time frame, if we have all of those required documents and send over for a lien check, we have to wait on a response from the lien check. Once we receive that response, we deliver mail in office twice a day, morning and then again in the afternoon for transfer stamps to go to the clerk's office for further processing. And that's what we wanted to be communicated. Transfer stamps are no longer over the counter. During the pandemic, Inspection Services was the only department open. Mr. Cleo, you had the opportunity to work in your man cave. We were open because we had a vestibule. So we never closed during the pandemic. We've been serving our residents and our constituents the entire time. And that's one of the things I applaud my staff for, because I gave them the option and they said, if you're in, we're in. And we've been there, again, trying to do the very best of our abilities to assist. The one thing that I want to say as it relates to the required documents, if all those required documents come into our office and we're able to process them, that very next day, depending upon when we receive a lien. If we receive the lien request back that morning, that afternoon it would go out to the clerk's office in the mail. When you get to the clerk's office, if there's an issue in terms of the water bill, then it stops again. Because a person it might be past the 5 days, or the water bill has not been satisfied before it's now able to go to the clerk's office for the finalization of the processing of the transfer stamp. So we ask that you allow time for the processing of the transfer stamp, but also have the required documents. One of the things that I will like to ask for in terms of, as it relates, go ahead, Mr. Clear.
You let them know that if the 5 days exhausts itself from the stamp, on the stamp, then the process has to spin all over again.
Right.
Come out and get another water
For
bill.
read, another
Yes.
water bill read,
That's another
yes.
hold up there also.
Right. And so those are all now, that's all time consuming. And also when the inspection is ordered, it's very important to allow time to order the inspection. So you can order an inspection, call today or send your documents in today and say, I need this inspection for tomorrow. We just don't have the availability of the staff at that time. But again, we try to work with you to the best of our abilities. I would say again, the one thing is the documents and having all the documents. If it's going to LLC, we need to have the LLC documents to show that it's in good standing. That's a required document. The P-tax is a required document. A lot of times we get P-tax that has an amount on there that does not match the transfer stamp. Those amounts have to match, because when they go to the clerk's office, that's the amount that they're expecting to collect. So those are things that are important. And one thing is we like to have a centralized person that we could speak to, either that's representing the grantee or the grantor. Sometimes we have a lot of, we like to say, hands in the same address. Now, mind you, there are 1,600 properties we have in Calumet City. We probably process transfer stamps of probably 30 to 40 a week. Multiply that by sometimes speaking to 4 persons on one property. It can get challenging. I've even had a mom call me to say, I'm calling on behalf of when you're going to be able to get my daughter and grandkids out my house. What's the hold up with this transfer stamp? And I've just released the line with the attorney telling them what was needed. So these are the things that we go through. I know they might, sometimes we're looking back on it, it sounds funny, but when you're there and you're looking at the time and you're still looking at 5 other people you have to call back and you're trying to address them all before the clock. We say we work 8 to 4, but our office work 7 to 7. Our staff come in at 7 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. to make sure we process permits, because we still have to process the same inspection report. Now your clients need permits for the report for the work that has to be done. So the permits have to be processed. Well, we have to find a timeline. So our staff come in at 7 to process permits. Then I stay from 4 to 7 to process transfer stamps. And then Mr. Cleo, I would go past City Hall. Mr. Cleo car is still outside. Ms. Deanne is still outside. So I just want you all to know, really, we are really working diligently. I talk to Val at 9 o'clock at night, and we're still right every night pretty much. I'm telling you, we get bings on our phone. When the mayor tells you he don't sleep, I can honestly tell you our mayor does not sleep. We would get a ding at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he'll say, I want this done at 7. We'll be in the office at 6:45 to make sure that it starts. He just gave me a directive just now about Monday morning, so when I leave here, I'll be going to the office to make sure that's taken care of on Monday morning. So, and I know that's not not what we're here for at this time, but I just want you to know from the bottom of our hearts, from Building and Zoning Department / Inspectional Services / the hub of the ship, that we're working diligently. And if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free. I answer all my emails. I return all calls. Sometimes they may come at some strange times, but I'm sending you an email to make sure that you receive the information. We are also offer sometime that if we can accommodate, but just know if it was any way we could, we would. And we're hoping that with the new hires we're attempting to hire this time. Again, we're looking for ICC code inspectors, and we're looking for certified clerks. We have 3 clerks doing a job of 7. But we still need qualified, and we need that to be qualified that you're not only strong in communication skills, you're strong in clerical skills, and you're timely. Well, that's right. It's a full package, and we can work with a lot of areas. But one of the biggest is communicating, and as Mr. Cleo said, that we have to do a better job of making sure what the expectations are, and we need your help in presenting us with what the expectations are, and we're here to work collectively with you on that. So,
If I just may, this is a good handout that you guys, and it's on the website.
Right.
So I would always encourage the brokers to go
Right.
there. Most of the brokers do go to the city website, and you do have a nice one in the sense of the information that you spell out. The only thing I would maybe just add as a possibility is the required documents, maybe do a subsection or a flash on the main website.
Okay.
Go to the website just to say sellers, real estate brokers, required documents, and then link.
that's an easy fix.
But because people just miss it.
That's
it's just
easy.
natural, they would miss it, but I think your overall handout is very helpful, and I know you do try to work with the brokers as much as, and the sellers, as much as you can.
Yes.
So we do appreciate that.
We appreciate it,
but
yes.
Efficiency is always the challenge.
Right. We appreciate that. Yes. And we're working on that. As soon as we get some ICC certified inspectors, that will help a lot.
I had a question. On this required documents list, it doesn't show ID, but when I've gone in, they ask for a copy of the buyer's ID.
That's if you're doing the consent to accept conditional waiver. Yes. And that's the story behind the consent to accept, because we had a notary, and I can share this because this is your field. So we had a notary obviously alleged that was working with someone else, and anyway, it was an alleged. We sent the citation out. When we appeared in court, the person who purchased the home said that was not their signature on that notarized document, that they was accepting the property as is. They thought they was buying a property that had a finalized inspection. So now an ID have to be attached to the consent to accept. Okay? So a lot of things is, we might have a formula online that say this, but we are challenged with something new all the time. And we're like, okay, we wasn't dealing with that at this point. Now this is something we now have to incorporate that now we are now dealing with. So that's where the ID came from.
I had another question.
Sure.
So with these documents that are online, are you guys looking at, with all the technology changes, moving to like electronic signatures being
Yes.
accepted?
Yes, absolute
But
DocuSigns, yes.
some of it requires notary.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. That will make it a lot easier. And believe you when I tell you, what's easier for you is easier for us. Because if we ever get into a challenge like we did with the pandemic, and we were down, at some days we just had one clerk, myself and one clerk. You never know now what we might be facing in the future. Technology such as that will help us move forward. Yes,
Okay.
so definitely.
Rick, any other questions, you can write them on the survey section, and I'll make sure Cheryl gets them, but we're going to move
It was
on.
a young, yes, she had her.
Oh, okay.
The question is, the state and the county, you can pay that at closing. So why can't Cal City do that?
State and county.
The taxes.
Okay, so that's a good question, and I appreciate you asking that. So,
That would eliminate one step, once we get the okay from Cal City, we know we
right.
can go on the rest of them.
So Calumet City is a home rule city. So Calumet City Alderman and Mayor decides our ordinances and our policies and procedures as it relates and what works best for the city of Calumet City. So at this time, that's a current ordinance that we have in place and policy, that all funds that's owed to the city, and that will be a collectible fund, has to be satisfied prior to us signing off on transfer stamps. So that will be something, again, a suggestion that we can look at. We are always modifying based upon what we hear, feedback. The mayor is very open to feedback, especially from the residents that he received, and as well as if any individual that have something. We challenge ourselves every day. We understand we don't have all the answers. That's why this meeting is great. And if that's something that we need to bring up, we can definitely bring that up. But that is one of the reasons that we want to make sure that there's no funds owed to the city at the time transfer stamps are executed.
Well, you can't close. You
And-
can't close if they don't have their money, so.
But then with,
Realtors, we're gonna make sure that that money's there.
and again, yes, that would be something that would have to be brought up
Issue the
Good.
stamps, I mean, are you saying to issue the stamps before?
prior to, right,
Issue the stamps before.
Right.
If the money isn't there, then we can't close.
right, but that's not, right.
You know, I think what we should do, if you guys would like, Cheryl and I could set up a Zoom call. Maybe get everybody on, those that are interested. Christina, take a note, we can spend just a lot of time hashing out things to do better. Would that be helpful? Because I know you have a lot of things that you'd like to talk about as well. Would that be
Yeah, I mean,
good?
it's not uncommon for the community to require, you know, when we do the final water read and they come in,
Right.
we normally pay the transfer
Right,
stamps
right.
at that moment. The seller has, you know, in this case, I think it's both.
Right, it's
So-
both.
So they have to, you know, work that out, but it's not uncommon for the community to require that transfer stamp to be paid right before closing. You know,
Okay.
And then, but what the broker's saying is, for the county and the state, it's taken out at closing.
And we don't have a staff.
Because title
We've got to
company,
figure out how we can beef up our thing. I think it would be really good though, if you guys don't mind, if Christina can help with us. You know, this kind of session, we kind of push and push for time, and there's a lot of brainstorming and a lot of knowledge that we can gather. If you don't mind, maybe we could set up an afternoon that's good for everyone, and then we can just get on a Zoom and hash out what you think we can do to be better. You know,
And
I
some-
know she
right.
has a lot of things that she's written down that I'd like to hear more about.
And I was going to say, and sometimes deal, as we know, fall apart at closing as well. And we don't find that out until the new buyer now come in to execute a new transfer stamp that the deal fell through at closing. So there's a lot of variables in there, but again, I say we do listen, you know, as it changes, as things change, we change, even as it relates to our ordinances. We go back and we address our ordinances to make them come up to now what what the challenges is that we are facing now, not only challenges, things in ways of improvement to our city and our citizens of the city. And I think the chief probably will speak on that because we're also looking at that. And one thing I want to say real quickly, and then I'll pass it. I told you didn't want me to come up here. I'm gonna pass it to chief. Is as it relates to River Oaks and River Oaks West, when the mayor was sharing with you about the city getting more involved with it, I just have to give the mayor and city council a lot of recognition as it relates to that, because they're there, when I say there, I'm speaking of River Oaks and River Oaks West. They're their own governing management, which means the cleanup efforts and the beautification is supposed to be taken on by them. They're taking our tax dollars. When I say I not only live in Calumet City for 36 years, I shop in Calumet City, I purchase gas in Calumet City. I really truly believe in the city in which I live. My kids were all grown now, but was all raised here in Calumet City. So when I go to the mall, I expect the mall to be the same as if I'm in Bolingbrook or if I'm in Indiana, and I hold them to that same expectation. So that's why I have no problems when I write them lots of citations on a daily basis, and I'll be there Monday doing the same thing. But what I want to say to the vision of the mayor and the city council is they've taken on ownership of cleaning up that mall, you know, just to make sure that it's recognizable within our city and our constituents and our anyone who's shopping in that area. Our public works team clean that mall up on a daily basis. And that really should not be occurring because we are spending our money there and we should be able to walk into a clean, safe environment with the mall. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to Deputy?
Thank you. Good morning. Everyone's probably fallen asleep after that wonderful meal we had. But real quick, my name is Pete Bendinelli. I'm the Deputy Fire Chief here in Calumet City. I've been with the department 23 years. I've been the Deputy Fire Chief for the past 4 years. Breakdown of the fire department here in the community. We have 54 firefighter paramedics, all full-time union firefighters. Our daily staffing's 12. We've got 2 fire stations. And where it relates to commercial industrial real estate, our ISO class right now is a 3. We were evaluated 4 years ago after I was appointed, and I was very shy of being a 2. So I made some modifications, and next year we'll be reevaluated. I fully expect us to be in ISO class 2 next year, which is a cost savings for commercial industrial insurance. How does the fire department engage with our business owners? They are stakeholders in the community here. So there's a couple things that we do. We're probably the only department in the city that is totally paper-free. And so with that, we have an app. My fire crews go out to businesses. We have about 90% are already in our system. It's an app. They go out, they take pictures of the business, they meet the business manager, get the contact information, and that information now is held onto this app. So now at 2 o'clock in the morning, when they go out to the location, they have all where the fire alarm is, where the sprinkler connection is, who's the contact, where's electrical, where's the gas. But besides all that, it's great to go and have a good positive engagement with the business owner when there's not an emergency, so that you get a name with the face. So next time when they meet during an emergency, they already met each other. So that's one program we have. Then we also do walkthrough trainings at our big industry locations, say like Dynagel across the tracks here. We do a walkthrough on 3 different occasions during the week. And we actually it's kind of a training for my guys and for the people there. And then I provide that business with a letter. They turn it into their insurance. And again, it's cost savings for the industry. Finally, we offer fire extinguisher training to our big manufacturers as well. Earlier, they mentioned K Manufacturing. I had a crew out there last month. They come out, they teach all the employees how to use fire extinguishers. And again, it's a little cost savings to me, but it's a big savings on the industry. Finally, the building that we're in. I want to kind of brag about the building here. So the little history on this building. Back in the 80s and 90s when we had the theaters in town, there was a sunset amusement tax that never sunsetted. So there was a class action lawsuit, and the fire department jumped on the opportunity to get some of the fine for the class action lawsuit. So that money sat in an escrow account for about 15 years, and back in 2015 we built the building here. And what I like to brag about the building, it didn't cost the taxpayers anything. The money came from that lawsuit and Caesar money from the police department and paramedic fund from the fire department. So this building here didn't cost the taxpayers anything. And also now it actually generates revenue for the fire department, because when I have classes here, they have to pay a user fee. And then how it also bleeds out into the business community. So last week now I had 60 people, 2 classes going at once. Every day, Monday through Friday. So that's 60 people that had to go eat lunch. That's 60 people that maybe had to get gas. So it spurs development into the community. And it's also important to me. I'm born and raised here, went to Tiff North High School. Like I said, been here 23 years. And I was sick and tired, probably along with the police department, is always having to go to the northwest suburbs and the west suburbs to take classes. And like many times we see that the Southland here is forgotten and overlooked, and now we have a nice location where the police and firefighters can get trained in our own community. I don't have to drive anywhere, and again, it spurs business into the community. So After, when we're done, if you'd like to I can show you around the place. You can look out in the yard. We've got a training development going on. It's a $250,000 project, again, all from ambulance paramedic fund money. No additional costs to the taxpayers. And again, that's going to spur more classes to be held here in Calumet City. Any questions for your fire department?
Thank you.
All right. And I am a pain in Val's butt because I'm always asking her about development. What's the development? Because I look at, she's planting the seeds and I'm trying to get the apples a couple years because it's very important to the police and fire, because without good development, I can't afford to hire police and firefighters. So, thank you.
Good morning, almost afternoon. I would like to thank the mayor and the staff for putting this on here. I think it means a lot that we have a vested interest in this town, and we want you guys to come with us and help us out in the plans that we have. I would also like to thank Val, Richard, I think you're still in the back, and Christine for putting this on. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. About the police department. So the mayor has a lot of energy, as did everybody else that spoke prior to me. And I don't know if I can outdo some of that. But the police department has the support of the mayor and the city council. We are in the process of doing additional hiring. That additional hiring is going to lead to our community outreach, to our business outreach. Some of the things that we do here in Calumet City as far as the businesses goes, we on a regular basis, we do what we call business checks, and that's when the officer is getting out of his car, going into the business, and talking to the employees of the business. During these interactions, we are hopeful that if there are issues, they are brought to our attention, and if they are brought to our attention, then we go ahead and we address them accordingly. One of the things that I was kind of hoping that Director Tillman was going to talk about, but she left it to me, is on the residential side. A program that we have is crime-free housing, and crime-free housing is a way for the landlords to learn how to screen their tenants. It's a way for the landlords to learn some of the indicators of crime, some of the indicators of a bad tenant. That is something that we do. That is a program that is kind of getting a lot of energy right now from the police department and inspectional services as well. And that helps out a lot. It brings light to the quality of life issues, and they get addressed and targeted at that point. But as far as the police department, as what we normally do, I'm a believer in high visibility. High visibility works. High visibility deters crime, and that's what we do. I've put a strong focus on doing that. And a lot of the things that we do are not just the business checks, not just the walking beats that we do, but we also do a lot of traffic enforcement. And traffic enforcement is not about writing tickets. It's not about writing tickets. Everybody thinks it's about, we get this a whole lot of money when we do this. It doesn't happen, okay? The reason I look at the traffic enforcement is it's a deterrent. The more police visibility that we have out there, the more that the bad folks are going to turn around and go the other way. That is what we are here for. That is what we are doing. In addition to that, we also do our covert operations. So some of the businesses in town, some of the residents in town, they will call the police. They may not see that high visibility because we also have the covert operations going on at the same time. So those are some of the things that we do here. But I want to talk about, everybody's talking about paper, 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 paper. Well, we are almost out of paper, right? So we do not use paper for much either. If citations are written, that's paper. We are fortunate and have been fortunate enough to have a lot of law enforcement technology, more than any other suburban area in the south suburbs and even some of our western and northern suburbs.
if you travel through Calumet City, you're going to see cameras up on the poles, right, with bright lights, red and blue lights. We have that. We are adding to that, and that is kind of like an eye in the sky. In addition to that, we have license plate readers. So all these things are there to capture images, to capture crime, to detect crime, but also to help the public. We've used those cameras when we've had missing persons. We've used our license plate readers to locate vehicles of missing persons. So it's not always the criminal side of it that we're using this technology for, but we have a lot of it, and we are fortunate, and we are going to build on what we have. I got a little bit confused here when we talked about Tiff and enterprise and transfer stamps and point of sale. I don't know any of that stuff. I've learned a lot here. I have learned a lot here. One of the other things I really learned is that there's more people staying late than just myself. So I have more phone calls if I get lonely when I'm in the office at night. I can call some of those other extensions now. And I also did not know, I thought my plate was full, but after listening to Director Tillman speak, she's got a lot on her plate. She has a real lot on her plate, but she too has the energy, as everybody else in this city does, to move us forward. I thank you all for coming out here, and I thank you for your time. And I got done just before 11 o'clock for you guys, or maybe 1 minute after. But thank you all for coming out. Once again, thank the city and the staff for putting this on. And I look forward to working with you all in the future. Thank you.
We got to-go boxes if you want to wrap up some food and take it home with you. Go ahead, Richard.
So I don't know if Calumet City Plumbing wants to be put on the spot, but I figured that since we're talking about doing business in Calumet City and you're here, you might want to give your perspective.
I'll keep it pretty brief from here, thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to continue to serve the city of Calumet City. We've been here since 1967, and when we moved in 2015 from State Street to River Oaks Drive, that was a big step up for us, and it's nice to still be home. Thank you.
I feel like Mike and I have grown up together a little bit, haven't we? We've been around together for a long time.
I grew up behind Shakey's and Bargain Town. Somebody called it Toys R Us. It was Bargain Town.
All right, so there are to-go plates, the candy, can you dump that in your purse? And thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you.